Hi, I'm Dr. Kethu, a gastroenterologist and a marathon runner. I'm heading to Sydney, Australia to run the Sydney Marathon, one of the world's most scenic and challenging races. This year, Sydney joins the ranks as the 7th world marathon major. And since I've already run the other 6, this will be a special milestone, my 106th marathon and my 7th major marathon. But for me, this is not just about crossing another finish line, it's about exploring what really happens to the human body over 42.2 kilometers. Along the way, I will share quick science-backed tips on hydration, gut health, heart performance, joint care, heat management, and mental resilience. Think of this as a moving masterclass. 1 foot on the pavement, 1 foot in the clinic. So lace up and let's get started. At 5:15 a.m. I'm heading to the train station to go to the start line. It is 48 degrees this morning. It is chilly. Train station to the start line.
Group number 2, please hold up.
Long lines for porta-potties. We are in this assembly area. We have almost an hour before we can cross the start line because it's a really big marathon. There are different start times and there'll be a long wait here, and it's very, very cold there. It is 7:15 a.m. We are still waiting to cross for the start line. Very chilly and windy. "7:22 a.m. Now we are moving towards start line finally. Sydney Harbour Bridge. Two kilometers. What's our excuse? Amazing. You know what most runners don't realize? Almost 80% of the energy you burn in a marathon doesn't move you forward, it just turns it into heat. And the only way your body cools that down is by sweating. Sweat is not just water, it's just got salt in it, a lot of it. Most runners lose around 700 to 1200 milligrams of sodium in every liter of sweat. And some people lose almost double that. Those are the people with the white salt streaks on their face after a race, like me. Here is the tricky part. If you don't drink enough, you get dehydrated, you feel tired, you cramp, your heart rate shoots up, and in bad cases, you can even tip into heat stroke. But if you drink way too much plain water, you can actually wash out your sodium. That's called hyponatremia, and it's way more dangerous. In fact, at the 2002 Boston Marathon, 13% of finishers had it, and a few ended up in the hospital too. So how do you avoid both extremes? First one is to figure out your sweat rate. Weigh yourself before and after a 1 hour long run in the same kind of weather. Every kilogram you drop is about a liter of sweat. That gives you your personal hydration baseline. Second is drink to thirst. For most people, that's somewhere between 400 to 800 milliliters per hour, but adjust based on your sweat test. Third one is replace sodium, not just water. Aim for 400 to 800 milligrams of sodium per liter in your sports drink. If you're really salty sweater, you will probably need more. And last, check your pee before the race. Clear means you've overdone it. Pale yellow is just right. Dark means you need more fluids. Hydration is not about chugging as much water as you can. It is about balance. And balance is what gets you across the finish line feeling strong instead of collapsing at 35 kilometers. Kilometers. One of the biggest myths in medicine is that running destroys your knees, but the data says the opposite. Large studies show recreational runners have lower rates of knee osteoarthritis than sedentary people. Motion actually nourishes cartilage by circulating joint fluid, almost like oiling a hinge. But there are caveats. Rapid mileage increases, poor biomechanics, or weak hip or glute stabilizers increase injury risk. Downhill pounding, like we see in Sydney's course,
puts up to 5 to 8 times your body weight across the knee joint every step. But here are the joint preserving strategies. First one is cadence. Keep steps at 170 to 180 per minute. Shorter, quicker steps reduce impact. Second one is strength training. Twice a week, focus on quads, hamstrings, hips and glutes. Third one is shoes. Replace every 300 to 400 miles. Cushion doesn't always mean protective. Comfort is the best predictor of injury prevention. And the fourth one is surface rotation. Mix asphalt, track and trail in training. Cartilage thrives on variability.
Elite runner.
Your joints were made for movement. Running doesn't wear them down. It keeps them alive.
There's only one cure for the
Half marathon is done.
This reminds me that we should talk about marathon gut problems. Ask any marathoner what they fear most, and it's not the hills, it's their gut acting up. Nausea, diarrhea, cramps, it's surprisingly very common. If you have ever felt nauseous, cramped, or had to make that dreaded Porta-Potty stop mid-race, you're not alone. Almost half of runners deal with some kind of stomach trouble during a race. Here is what happens. When you run hard, as much as 80% of your blood flow gets pulled away from the stomach and intestines and sent to your muscles and skin. That means your gut is running on low power. And then the constant pounding with every stride, those gels and sports drinks, and maybe some dehydration, and your digestive system starts fighting back. Now, let's talk about carbs. Not all sugars are the same. Fructose by itself, like what you would get from fruit juice, doesn't absorb well and often causes abdominal cramps. But if you pair glucose and fructose in about a 2-to-1 ratio, your gut handles it much better. That's why the top fueling products use a sugar blend instead of just one type of sugar. Now next is sweeteners. A lot of people don't realize that ingredients like sorbitol, xylitol or mannitol, the ones you see in sugar-free gum, mints and even some gels, can act like laxatives during marathon stress. The next one is caffeine. It can be a great tool. It sharpens your focus and helps you burn fuel more efficiently. But in some sensitive runners, it speeds up things in the gut and sometimes way too fast. That's why you should always test caffeine in training, never gamble on it on race day. So what's the game plan for the race week? 2 days out, shift to a low fiber diet like white rice, potatoes, sourdough bread, eggs and chicken. On race morning, keep it light and simple. Easy carbohydrates you know your stomach tolerates, nothing heavy in fat or protein. During the race, aim for 30 to 60 grams of carbs an hour from gels, chews or drinks you have already practiced with. And if some stomach issues still hit you during the run, don't panic. Slow down for a kilometer, sip some water, maybe even walk for a short stretch. Just that little reset in blood flow can settle your gut and save your rate. Now let's talk about your heart on a marathon. Every marathon works your legs, but it's also a workout for your heart. Long distance running actually reshapes your heart, something doctors call athlete's heart. Here is what happens. Endurance runners often develop a bigger left ventricle, which pumps more blood per beat. Your resting heart rate drops, sometimes into the 30s, and your stroke volume increases, meaning your heart works less hard to do the same job. These changes are protective. Runners have a 40 to 50% lower risk of coronary artery disease and sudden cardiac death compared to non-runners. But there is a nuance. High mileage runners, those who have done dozens of marathons over decades, show a slightly higher risk of atrial fibrillation, which is an irregular heartbeat. Some veteran marathoners also show calcification in their coronary arteries, but interestingly, those plaques are usually stable and less likely to rupture. So what should you actually do? If you are over 40 or have a family history of heart disease, a stress test or at least a calcium score scan before heavy training can give peace of mind. Always listen to your body. Chest pain, unusual breathlessness, or palpitations are signs to stop and get checked. And don't skip strength training. Strong muscles reduce the strain on your heart while running. The bottom line is, running is medicine, but like any medicine, it works best when you use it wisely. Somewhere in the later miles, usually past 30 kilometers, most runners hit a point where the energy just disappears and it feels like you can't keep going. That's what runners call hitting the wall. Usually between 30 to 36 kilometers, when glycogen stores hit empty and your brain tells you to quit. So what exactly is happening? Your glycogen depletion forces you into fat metabolism, which provides energy at half the speed. The brain senses low fuel and fires panic alarms that sets in fatigue, doubt, even pain amplification. But resilience can be trained. Endurance running literally rewires your brain, strengthening the prefrontal cortex's control over the limbic system, the emotional fight or flight center. Mental strategies that will really help will be: one is chunking. Don't think that 12 kilometers left. Think just get to that next lamppost. Break the impossible into small wins. The second strategy is mantras. Short rhythmic cues like relax and move forward. Override negative chatter. The third one is carb drip feed, which means 30 to 60 grams per hour of glycogen that keeps energy from hitting zero. Small sips every 20 minutes are better than large dumps. And the last one is visualization. In training, picture finishing strong. On race day, your brain recalls that image when fatigue peaks. The wall is not a dead end. It's the doorway to discovering strength you didn't know you had. Sydney's marathon throws a sneaky challenge. It often starts cool but finishes hot like today. Your body mainly cools itself through sweat evaporation, but when humidity is high, sweat just drips, wasted cooling. your heart rate climbs and pace usually slows after 25 to 30 kilometers. For every 1 degree centigrade your core temperature raises, your heart rate jumps about 10 beats per minute. If you didn't train in the heat, expect that perceived effort to feel heavier than normal. Sunscreen matters too. Sunburned skin can lose up to half its ability to sweat, which makes staying cool even harder. So what actually helps? Pre-cooling works. Drink an ice slurry, crushed ice plus sports drink before the start. Research shows it delays heat stress by 15 to 20 minutes. Mid-race cooling also helps. Ice under cap, sponges at aid stations, all that will help. Cooling the neck and palms is surprisingly effective, which I do that all the time. And what about pacing? Science says that slowing down 1 to 3% for every 5 degrees centigrade above 15 degrees centigrade will help. Heat doesn't just challenge your muscles, it challenges your brain. Respect the sun and you're more likely to cross the finish line strong.
Sydney Marathon was amazing. The energy was electrifying. The city is so beautiful with the harbor and the harbor bridge, the views, the gardens, the course support. And this is the first Sydney Marathon after it became one of the 7 majors. And this happens to be my 7th major and marathon number 106. I had an amazing experience.